The following program is a podcast1.com production.
Your healthy radio addiction starts now.
Power to the people!
The Laura Ingraham Show.
Happy 2018 to all of my listeners. It is so good to be back. Maybe not in the cold weather, but it is great to be back. We have a new day dawning. It's not only the new year, but we have new signs of a massive economic recovery / dominance for the United States of America, all courtesy of President Trump and his team, who are focused on the prize. The prize is America first, your wages, the regulations that have been weighing down American businesses, the rise of China, the dominance of China and military space weaponry. We are going to handle all of this. We're very excited about this show. We have a great Ingraham angle lined up to kick off the new year on Fox at 10 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you set your DVR. We had Alabama heading again to the national championship. So, James, how long do you think it took me to get my tickets for that, for the national championship? How long before
I figure there was a post-game press conference, so probably sometime along that.
Yeah,
that
right.
line.
Basically, yeah, I'm going to Atlanta next Monday. Got to set that up for our Atlanta affiliate down there, so we got to make sure we get lined up for that. But it was a great game last night. I have to admit, I fell asleep because I was exhausted from being with the children for a week. It was a vacation that was so much fun. Very blessed to be able to go to warm weather. But let's face it, when you're traveling with 3 children under the age of 12, it is exhausting. But we had fun. So it was a great game, Alabama. That Georgia game. Did you watch it, James? Did you watch any of the Georgia game?
I saw parts of it.
Oh my God!
It
How
might
did
be
you
one of
not
the
watch
best.
that game? That game was unreal. 45-45 goes into overtime. 48-48, second overtime, blocked field goal, and the Dogs win it. See, my dream was Georgia, Bama, national championship, and we got it. This is Georgia's flooding StubHub. Of all my friends in Alabama, like, Georgia's buying up all the tickets because they haven't been for a while. So they're buying all the tickets for the game. The tickets went up to $2,500 a seat. And they crashed the site. They crashed StubHub last night after they won. But that game was an unbelievable game. And it could have gone either way. I actually was worried because I thought the Sooners were going to win that. But the Dogs came out, and those fans, I've got to say, it couldn't be a more fun national championship. I'm sorry. I know all you Clemson people are down today. And I understand that, but you won last year, so it's time for a new dynamic. So Nick Saban actually smiled once. That's how happy he was that they won the playoffs. It started off
Tied in the lead. Nick Saban smiled. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
he rarely does that, but he actually did smile. We have lots of news on the international front. France, by the way, has announced that they're pursuing a greater trading relationship with both Russia and China. Okay, well, I guess we'll see how that works out with you on the Chinese front. I'm not worried about Russia so much, but China? Okay. Well, we'll just see. We'll see what China exacts from you as far as their own benefits when you get closer to China. Okay. And don't talk to me about human rights or all your concerns about human rights and, you're all about human rights in France. No, you're not. That's apparently not at all a factor in the way you think about your relationship. So, we have a lot to get to. Sluggish wages see uptick. Pay is rising at double the national average in metro areas with low unemployment. This is above the fold in the Wall Street Journal today. Now, we're going to get into why that matters in 2018 in just a moment. But the thing I love the most, is that the New York Times actually had on the front page, page 1 above the fold, New York Times. You ready? With red tape losing its grip, firms ante up. Spending is on the rise as confidence grows. Mic drop. Hello. This is what President Trump has been saying. Once you get the government off people's backs, businesses, entrepreneurs, small businesses, wait until you see the magic that happens in the U.S. economy. Now, I think this has been very underreported in the media, the regulatory cutbacks that President Trump has made, except, they've talked about it to this extent. They've talked about it to the extent that, the environment is going to be destroyed. By the way, I have another, this is a mission I will be on for some time to get rid of plastic. Okay, every time I go near the ocean, which is not that often actually, I become more enraged about plastic and plastic being thrown everywhere. It's in trees, it's on the ground, it's in the sand, it's in the fish. Okay, President Trump can actually win more young people if he does some really cool and innovative stuff on, the pollution in this environment, because it is stunning. And don't email and call and say, "Oh, Laura, you're squishy because you go to a resort and it's filled with plastic." No. Okay, I go to the national parks and I see plastic. You drive down any street and you see plastic. I have a question. How did any of us survive without plastic water bottles, which we've gotten rid of in our household? The stupid plastic water bottle generation that we've raised in this country. Get a Brita filter, put your water in there, and take a glass of water. But these people walking around with their water bottles, get a reusable water bottle. That's what I have, the stainless steel kind. The kind that are, by the way, you can get them that are not made in China, that do not have any of that gross stuff in them. But I am in a war against plastic. We have to come up with something about plastic, some way for it to dissolve, some way that it doesn't get into the fish. Do you know they found plastic all the way in Japan, little micro pieces of plastic that they could trace back to the west coast of the United States? That's how far it travels. And you see those big, huge islands of plastic floating all over the place. People say, "Oh, it's not a big deal." Well, isn't it the size of like Connecticut or something, traveling all over the? Oh, it's awful. I'm sorry. I'm just disgusted. I saw the president a few times over break. I'll talk about it. I won't talk about what my private conversations were with him, but I did have a chance to see him a few times. He was in great spirits. And by the way, do you know how sometimes, people look tired? Presidents after a year in office, it's exhausting. I don't think he has looked better since maybe the beginning of the campaign. Now, you know how sometimes everyone can look tired. The presidency really weighs on you. He was both hilarious, substantive, optimistic, and in fine fighting form. All of that. And I'll tell you the way I see it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because I happen to support some of his policies. I'm just telling you, he is resolute. And over again, he's telling you in social media and so forth, he's just getting started. But I'm telling you, this Christmas, I'm not looking back, I'm looking forward. This is going to be a great year. Doesn't mean the market might have some corrections. Of course it's going to. It can't keep going up at this pace. But I feel like this country, despite what you hear in the lamestream media, I think this country is so optimistic right now. The working people feel more optimistic. The landscape just looks better. It looks clearer. I think the great value, which I say, and I'm going to say again and again and again, one of the great values of this president is that we see everybody's cards. We know that there are certain people who call themselves Republicans who were just Republicans in name only. I'm sort of tired of that old acronym RINO, but they're not really conservatives. They were nominally called Republicans. And they were predicting dire results for President Trump's first year. Remember the predictions a year ago? You know what we should do, James? We should go back and get some of the end-of-year predictions on the Sunday shows, or the first week predictions for the Sunday shows, what President Trump was going to create. It was going to be chaos, global sell-offs in the market. It was going to be retrenchment from foreign affairs. He was going to be a complete meltdown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what do we have a year later? Consumer confidence up, unemployment lowest in 17 years. Now we have wages going up. We are going to see real results on the trade deficit. We see America's role in the world clearer. And I was on vacation when the Nikki Haley announcement came that we are, $285 million to the UN. That I think that, and the fact that we're making our NATO allies live up to their financial obligations to NATO. That's great. And I think if you polled that, just should NATO countries pay their 2% of the GDP to their military, should they contribute, according to what they've already agreed to, what do you think that would poll like in the United States? I don't know, 80%? Same with the UN. Should the United States pay upwards of double digits percentage of the UN budget? What is the percentage, Taylor? 22%, 32%, something like that. Look it up. I can't remember everything off the top of my head. But I believe it's something like that. Now, why is that the case? That we not only give them the place to house the UN, imagine the beautiful condos you could build there. Oh yeah, that's a great area to build. We could build that. We could sell that land off. We could, oh my goodness, the U.S. Treasury would get billions of dollars. Oh, and yeah, commercial real estate, residential real estate. I stayed once in Sutton Place, the Sutton Place apartment building. I think it's called Sutton Place, right near the UN. I stayed there for a couple weeks one summer. I can't remember what I was doing, but what a beautiful place, right near the UN. I think all of it. Why are we carrying the load for the rest of the world? All we get is grief. They couldn't support us on the obvious move of the Israeli capital to Jerusalem. They all either abstained, except for Guatemala. I want to know the real truth behind that Guatemalan vote, don't you? What did they get from the United States? They got something. But all these supposed friends of ours, they oppose us in these key measures, and yet we're footing the bill. It's ridiculous. Yeah, 28% of the U.S. budget, $8 billion in mandatory payments. Okay. But that was great. Not everyone's saying Nikki Haley's going to run and Trump's going to not run in 2020. I don't know about that. At least that's a good question to ask at the beginning of the year. And I know it's 2018, but I'm telling you, 2018 is upon us. The 2020 election begins the day after the 2018 midterm elections are over. That's when 2020 begins. So you've seen Nikki Haley. You've seen her out there. Right now, if you could, in your mind, fast forward, do you prefer Nikki Haley to run for president and for Donald Trump to be a one-term president? Yes or no? 855-40-LAURA. Well, I'm for Trump running. I'm not for Nikki Haley. I mean, I like Nikki Haley. She wants to be, well, she's not going to be vice president. I'm going to dump Pence. But she's clearly wants something. Maybe Secretary of State. I don't know. Rex Tillerson still. Anyone see if Rex Tillerson's email is still working? We thought maybe he'd be gone by January 1st, but he's still around. I'm very optimistic. I think this is going to be a great year. I'm so excited. We got the news that Fox, once again, a number one cable network, despite all, again, predictions that Fox was going to go down the tubes and MSNBC. Remember all those articles about Rachel Maddow and MSNBC? And all of you know that Rachel and I don't agree on much, but I have a lot of respect for her. And I know it drives people crazy when I say that. If I were a liberal, I'd watch Rachel Maddow. I think she's the best at MSNBC by far. She puts a lot of work into her show. We don't agree on much, but I'm just being honest. If I were a liberal, I'd watch her. There are some nights where she was able to, win against Fox, but not the most of them. And Fox still comes out as number one. So Hannity number one, Tucker number two, I think Special Report number three in the demographic, the key demographic, and yours truly in number four. And we just started. So that's pretty good. At 10 p.m., fewer people are watching TV. So it's harder to be higher in the rankings because people just naturally turn their sets off, especially on the East Coast. People go to sleep. They turn their sets off. But you guys are tuning in just to watch, sometimes just to watch the prime time of Fox. And I'm really gratified that you all, tuned in to watch our show. So thank you very much for that. We're fifth overall, which again is huge because we're a late show. And Fox just dominated. So very grateful for that. So again, the experts who predicted the global sell-off, they predicted all this doom and gloom with Trump. Chaos is going to reign supreme. Well, once again, you're wrong. And I'm not putting a lot of stock in the polls about approval numbers, not yet. We'll take a break. 855-40-LAURA, Nikki Haley, Donald Trump, 2020. What do you think? Isn't that a fun question to start with? Stay with us.
It's a new day. Oh, it's a new time. And there's a new way. I'm gonna live my life.
For hardworking Americans, there's just not enough time in the day. Freshly has made my insane day manageable and saved me a ton of time. Freshly is the easiest way to eat healthier without any of the work. They deliver fresh prepared meals straight to your door, so you can skip that annoying line at the grocery store and the mess after dinner. These meals have given me so much more time to focus on the things that matter. The meals are made fresh in the USA by hardworking Americans like yourself. All you have to do is heat them up, and your meal is ready to eat in under 3 minutes. It's foolproof, and it's like having a personal chef do all the work for you. Go to freshly.com/Laura, and you'll get 40% off. That's 20% off each of your first 2 orders of chef-cooked meals, plus free shipping. That's freshly.com/LAURA for 40% off and free shipping. Or use code Laura at checkout.
We've almost taken for granted the ugliness and fundamental dishonesty of hyper-partisan media, that hate news and fake news has really proliferated and muddied the waters of our cultural conversation.
Hate news. What is hate news?
Hyper-partisan news sites that have explicit agendas that go well beyond the National Reviews and Weekly Standards or Mother Jones, that have a forthright philosophy. These are places that are viewing political debate as a form of war, and sometimes they function as propagandists, and there are no rules in this. They are ugly, and they will unleash forces against critics in any way, shape, or form.
remember.
Now, this is coming from a guy named John Avlon. Most of you don't know who he is, but he runs this nasty site called The Daily Beast, which I literally never read, but it is nasty because a few things they've written about us are nasty. And they have their little worm reporters who are always worming their way around with only an agenda to try to tear people down. That's their only agenda, tear conservatives down. And they don't care. I mean, the idea that they care about objectivity, give me a break. Raymond Arroyo is with us. Raymond, didn't you find that to be hilarious coming from John Avlon? They're propaganda sites because they're actually doing well. Sites like Breitbart and LifeZ and other sites that have a conservative perspective. First of all, LifeZ does faith, family, parenting, politics is just one little part of LifeZ.
Yeah, no, look, Avalon, he should turn his attention to his own network. Brian Stelter and others there who routinely grind up the president and his agenda with abandon. I mean, if you want to talk about hate news, there's plenty there. Look, I've been a critic of all these people attacking blindly without, being in any way honest about what the administration is actually achieving. Look, criticize them when it counts and when it merits it, but give me a break.
And by the way, CNN, again, that all occurred on CNN, the comments about fake news, hate news, propaganda news focused on conservative websites. And that's after CNN showed viewers how to use a bong on New Year's Eve. So that's the news that we could use. This is CNN. Unbelievable.
We will abandon the policy of reckless regime change favored by my opponent, and we will instead work with our allies to advance the core national security interests of the United States. America first. Remember that. America first.
With
This is yet another reason why the president should get out of the nuclear deal with Iran, should resume all of our previous sanctions, putting increased economic pressure on the regime. We should provide material, financial support to the opposition if they desire it. We should work with intelligence services from other countries, Saudi, Israel, to provide more pressure. There's a lot we can do, and we should do it. Our goal should be regime change in Iran.
Well, a lot of us populist conservatives start getting a little worried when we start hearing about regime change. Understanding that Iran is the single largest sponsor of terrorism in the world, they are a destabilizing and dangerous force in the Mideast. But I will also say the one sure way for President Trump to lose his momentum on the economy, the one sure way for him to get in trouble, in my view, is if we get into another intractable conflict in the Middle East. You can support people protesting as he did. A lot of the protests were for economic reasons, but a lot of them for just reasons of desiring freedom over the last week or so, 2 weeks. Much of it, by the way, ignored by the mainstream media. But when you start hearing regime change, that was John Bolton, of course, doesn't work in the administration, but they like him. That's when I start getting worried. You know why I get worried? Is because that means the writers at the Weekly Standard are happy because it means we're going to war. I mean, you can't find a war that they don't support. And I'm for America first. I look at what China has done in not getting involved militarily in conflicts, and they've enriched themselves. They've advanced their interests around the world through economic strength and economic durability. I get very concerned when I start hearing regime change. 855-40-LAURA. Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us, Colonel Jim Warshak, retired U.S. Air Force colonel and former National Security Council staffer, Special Ops and Intel. He joins us now. We have the stock market climbing, first day of the trading year, which is also good news. President tweeting about Pakistan, calling them out, threatening to withhold aid. We'll make sense of this with Colonel Warshak. Colonel, good to talk to you, sir. How are you?
Well, Happy New Year, Laura. Glad to be back.
Let's talk about Bolton on regime change. I like John, and I agree with him on a lot, but I'm a little concerned when I start hearing that phrase thrown around like that. Am I wrong to be concerned?
Well, let me put a little bit different perspective on it for you, Laura. Regime change comes in many ways, and I haven't heard the administration say anything really about regime change. Of course, as you noted, that was Ambassador Bolton talking about it. If we look at regime change in other ways other than the military aspect of it, as we saw particularly during the Obama administration with Libya and attempts in Syria and wherever else in the Middle East, that's one thing. We've influenced and orchestrated regime change in other parts of the world without military action. Certainly what we did in Eastern Europe in the post-Cold War period after the collapse of the Soviet Union, we certainly had regime change there when there was no use of U.S. military force. Even if you go back to Iran in the 50s when we implemented and orchestrated that, there was no military force. So we can look at regime change by ways of other methods, and certainly what we're perhaps seeing here, I certainly believe, is the strong message that this president has laid out for Iran versus what the previous president laid out for Iran, and that's through strategic influence and strategic information, where support is offered from the standpoint of, as a nation we stand by you versus a nation we stand by you and we'll give you military support.
Oh,
I don't see military support coming into play at all here, but I do see a tacit effort here to embolden the Iranians who are resisting probably one of the most horrible regimes existing on Earth right now.
Tell me, again, you raise a great point, and that's what we're certainly hoping for. We want the administration to be a beacon of light for those around the world in these dangerous regimes, to say, look, we support you. And I remember when I was working at the White House during the Reagan administration, just the feeling of hope that existed in the old the Iron Curtain countries that were still behind the Iron Curtain, and just supporting Pope John Paul II and the Solidarity movement. And I think we do have to distinguish between military regime change and other types that don't harm the U.S. domestic economy, which I am extremely concerned about. We've spent an enormous amount of money on our military. We're going to spend an enormous amount more, but we've seen a lot of chaos sown over the years in the Middle East by efforts, both the Obama administration, I will also say the Bush administration, to do some regime change. And I just don't think we can go down that road again. That's not where we should be, and that's not what I don't think there is any constituency for that among the American people. I just don't think there is. And I think we go down that road and Trump will not win re-election. I think the Republicans will also suffer. Tell us what's behind these protests. And there are lots of reports that they started in suburban areas around the country. They were geared toward the high prices of food staples, milk, bread, and so forth. People thought things were going to get better after the Iran deal, but economically they haven't gotten better. Or is this really about political change in the country?
Well, I think you're right in every single case, particularly as you mentioned about how you go about regime change. And in this case, the protests and uprising started in the suburbs, Mashhad and Kermanshah and Hamadan and other cities, and it focused on one effort to get the attention of the Iranian people, and that was the economic situation. They've got just an unbelievable unemployment rate in the country. They expected benefits to come out of the Iran deal, as you said, and they're not seeing those. So there was an effort there to rally these individuals, these citizens, against the government, and so that was implemented and orchestrated. How that was done, I have a lot of ideas, and I've got an article out this morning that addresses those without getting into the details. So I believe there was an influence campaign that was orchestrated by outside organizations because they needed that, and they needed the impetus and an organized effort. Now I believe these have been taken over by the MEK, which is a long-time organization in Iran and Iraq, in that part of the Middle East, that has now become quite friendly to the United States, certainly since we went into Iraq, where they shifted over the years, became a supporter. They were taken off the terrorist watch list reluctantly by the Obama administration, and have been very favorable to the U.S. efforts and certainly even Israel. So I think that may be the momentum part of it there.
All right, let's get a few more topics in before we have to let you go. On the issue with North Korea, overtures to South Korea, perhaps because the noose is tightening economically around their necks, although we found out, big shock, that China was thwarting UN sanctions, still sending fuel over to North Korea. Again, our great partner, strategic partner, according to Obama, was China. Joke. So where are we with the danger level there? I mean, we keep talking about it. We're going to war. We're going to war. I keep hearing we're going to war. My friends in the military, like, the way we're doing our exercises now indicates that we are going to war. I have 2 or 3 young officers who are friends of mine who have spoken to me about what they're doing, both in the Army and the Marine Corps. What is your sense there?
Well, certainly we're preparing for the extreme, and we have to do that. And that's based on what we see as North Korea, Kim Jong-un, getting desperate. And I think he's in a situation of showing signs of being desperate. You know, his rhetoric about having the button on the desk, and they're also talking about North Korea now wanting talks, and that's starting to come through some of the diplomatic channels. So perhaps there's that last-ditch effort where we would have to certainly be really regimental and play this really, really hard with them to prevent any type of military action. That's always going to be the case. But I think it's a sign of desperation, and if it was, it would be Kim Jong-un doing his last hurrah, if you will. So certainly we have to be prepared. We use our military exercises as, you know, there's multiple things that come out of them. Shows of force and determination, but at the same time we prepare ourselves for worst case scenarios, and so that's what we are seeing.
And very quickly, Pakistan. Why is the president turning up the heat on Pakistan?
Well, obviously the Pakistanis certainly in the last 8 or 9 years have not supported us to the degree that we expected from them in the war on terrorism, and we're ratcheting back our aid to them. Of course, there's another pot of money that goes to Pakistan that we use to help secure their nuclear weapons. That's totally separate, and that is critical, and we have to make sure those are protected, particularly when you have radical Islamists running around the country.
Yeah, we also have to worry, Colonel, about China. China is becoming a bigger, I think, threat to the United States. We do all this trade with them, but the Trump administration sees the writing on the wall with their work internationally in Africa, South America, even Mexico. They're trying to do more investment. Canada. They're trying to put a little vice around us with their own economic investment to our north and to our south. France is now showing signs that they're going to do a lot more work with China. And who knows what China will do with Pakistan as the months and years go on. Then we'll let you go. Your comment on that.
Okay, I think the biggest fear that China sees with us is President Trump talking about bringing industrialization back to America, work back to America. That's fearful of them because they've got a lot of people whose mouths they got to feed, and they do it by producing and selling
cheap junk
goods to America.
Yeah.
If that spigot gets turned down 10%, that's huge in China, and they've got to deal with that. And so, you know, this is tit for tat economic diplomacy, I think, going on here. How that plays out, I think President Trump will hold the line. He sees jobs in America as more important. And if he sees, if China wants to play that game, China needs the United States more than anything else, because if they can't sell anything to the United States, they have a lot of mouths to feed because a lot of people will be out of work. So they may own and do a lot of investing in the United States, but it's the goods and services that put money on the table for Chinese citizens.
Colonel Jim Warshak, thank you so much. We covered a lot of territory there in Pakistan, North Korea, China, and, of course, all the challenges we're seeing with Iran. We'll get to a lot more here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Remember, Ingraham Angle tonight. We have an incredible show on tap. You're not going to want to miss it. And all the potheads are celebrating in California and on CNN. How lovely.
We are in Denver, Colorado. Good evening to you guys, Anderson and Andy. We have the party started here. There's a little bit of a purple haze. We call this magic bus the Kenna bus. Get it? Whoa! This is what I'm dealing with.
That's CNN on New Year's Eve. They were very excited. It was New Year's Eve, yeah. They were very excited about the, pot being legalized. Were they in California? Were they in Denver? Where the hell were they? Oh, in Colorado. Yeah. Well, in Colorado, what's the big news there? They've had that legalized for a couple of years now, right? California, they were all lined up with the ribbon-cutting ceremonies and, woo, more pot, woo. All right, well, we already see that pot use by younger people increasing with the legalization. You know, big weed is going to make billions of dollars. and that's just where we are. This is, again, we'll see how it all works out for the country. But when you have CNN anchors kind of glorifying this and, ooh, we're on the bus, we're on the canna bus. Oh, what a fun pun.
This is Mikey's, what do you call this, Mikey?
This is a Blazy Susan, you guys.
And so a Blazy Susan, like a lazy Susan, it just makes getting high easier?
For all of your accessories, puts them in one easy-to-stow place.
What's that accessory
This
right
is
there?
one of my accessories.
Yeah?
That,
You're gonna just light that up
yeah,
right now?
that's
Okay.
Oh, my God. You're listening to your Healthy Radio Addiction, 855-40-LAURA. What's a big deal? People drink. Drinking takes thousands of lives, taking millions of lives worldwide. And, so what? Maybe people are smoking pot. You look at all that tax revenue you're going to get. All the money. Don't you love all these liberals suddenly? Oh, all the money you're going to get. No, I'll tell you what's driving this. Big weed billions. You thought big tobacco? That was a powerful lobby? Look at the people behind big weed. High-tech people, billionaires, and multimillionaires are pushing it because they're going to make a lot of money. That's why. And we'll see how it works out for the kids.
Your Healthy Radio Addiction starts now.
Power to the people!
The Laura Ingraham Show.
People knocking, but you can't come in. Well, people knocking, but you can't come in. Well, people knocking, but you can't come in. Come back tomorrow night and try it again.
You had DACA talks today for the Dreamers, and I did. Your base and what you campaigned on was real common sense policies. You talked about E-Verify, building the wall, chain migration, which is a huge
All
problem.
of those things are happening. Chain
And is that going to be
migration.
part of any DACA deal? So if the Democrats want Dreamer help, they're going to have to do. They're going to have to do E-Verify, chain migration.
Sure.
I pressed the president on this in my interview in 2017. Can you believe it's 2018? Something just seems wrong. 2018, what? That is craziness. But this is going to be, mark my words, a very big issue in January. Now, why am I saying this? Because there are a lot of Republicans in Congress who feel like, well, we got our tax reform, and now we need to get our stuff done. And for some reason, these Republicans believe that this is the most important thing for them to get done in 2018. I don't understand that. They did not get elected to give amnesty to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, 800,000 people. They did not get elected to do that. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you all had a nice holiday and spent some time with your friends and family. I certainly did, counting my blessings every single day. This is a time to look forward and forward to a year of prosperity, health, transparency. Oh, yeah, we want all those who deserve to be held accountable. The president's already tweeting about Huma Abedin, which it's hilarious. Yeah, calling on her to be jailed, basically, for allegedly giving out classified information. Crooked Hillary's top aide, spelled wrong, Huma Abedin, has been accused of disregarding basic security protocols. She put classified passwords into the hands of foreign agents. Remember sailors' pictures on submarine? Jail. Deep State Justice Department must finally act? ? Also on Comey and others. Well, you know my feeling about the president tweeting on this type of stuff. I'm not wild about it because I think when you're head of the Justice Department, he's the titular head of the Justice Department because he's the head of the executive branch. He's sending a message to Jeff Sessions, clearly. Okay, Jeff, you bailed on us with the appointment of Rosenstein as deputy and recusing yourself on the Russia investigation. You bailed on us on that. So now it's time to step up and and act against these people who are clearly compromising our most classified pieces of information. Now, the Abaddon emails included passwords to government systems to her Yahoo email account before millions of Yahoo accounts were hacked. Ooh. The emails were released as part of a Judicial Watch lawsuit. I love Judicial Watch. I love Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch. They file all those Freedom of Information Act requests. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this information at all. And Trump also mentioned Comey, saying that he too needs to be looked into for his actions in the Clinton email case. Why do I say Trump shouldn't tweet this stuff? He's just going to do what he's going to do. This is what he's going to do. He again, transparency. We see what's on his mind at any given point in time. He was in a good mood though. I saw him 2 times at Mar-a-Lago because I had dinner with friends one night, and then I had dinner with some other friends the next night. And he made his way over to me to talk to me. I talked to him first, then Melania and he came over, and I love Melania. I think she's so understated as a person. I said, you're doing a great job. Don't let the critics get you down. And she said, I'm just who I am. I'm not changed. I'm the same person I've always been. And she said that before in conversations with people. It's nothing new, but she's delightful. Of course, I like to stand far away from Melania because I'm not kidding you. This is so, this doesn't matter at all. But I'm telling you, in person, she's much more, beautiful than she is even on television. She's, that's why she's a model, obviously, but she's so gorgeous. But you know what it is? It's not her looks. She radiates positivity. She's so positive, and she's funny. She's a funny person. And again, that people don't have a chance to see that, but I hope they get to see that more in the new year of her, because she's just a lovely person. And they're very gracious, meeting some of my friends, and they couldn't have been nicer. So it was fun to see them. But the president's he's going to tweet what's on his mind. But I guess you don't want to prejudice any judicial proceedings that may be occurring. You don't want to give potential defendants the opportunity to say, I can't get a fair jury trial because the nation's chief law enforcement officer, again, the titular head of the Justice Department, President Trump, has already weighed in on this. So I'm thinking 5 and 6 steps down the road. I love the fact that he tweets. Don't get me wrong, but just on these issues, I think you got to be a little careful. Just like with the firing of Comey, it felt good at the time, but then that led to a lot of other things. We're learning a lot more about perhaps the basis for the entire special counsel being called, and the basis for the FISA court warrants to surveil the Trump campaign, and also including in the transition. We learned a lot more about that. Looks like it was that little dweeb George Papadopoulos who had no authority to do anything. Looks like they were putting a lot of eggs in that basket. So we'll talk more about that this hour on the Laura Ingraham Show. But I hope you all had a good holiday. Do you make New Year's resolutions? Because later on we're going to talk about how you can keep your New Year's resolutions. Most people don't keep their resolutions. Oh, they break them in the first week. I love going to the gym and seeing all the people in the gym. Oh my God, it's hilarious. So many, you can't get on a machine. Or exercise classes, because a lot of people get exercise classes for gifts. They get gift cards. Or how many people lose their gift cards? I can't tell you how many gift cards I've lost over the years. Thousands of dollars worth of gift cards. I think you should just give people cash. I think the gift card thing, don't give them cash, because number one, they'll go to one exercise class, hurt themselves, and then blame you for it. They'll just blame you for it. Raymond, do you notice that at the gym? Raymond Arroyo's with us. At the gym, everyone's there, and then the next week they're not. No one's there.
Well, no, you get some new recruits in the yoga class when you rolled in on January 1st.
And they instruct.
No, I saw some sites the other day.
Oh no, well, and all I will say is this: cover up. Some people should just cover up
Well, it's not going to go well, Laura, when you see the stream of people coming by and they're sharing their beignets from a bag on the way to the exercise class. I saw this at the gym. I'm on the treadmill. I'm looking, and these three ladies walk in, and they've literally got the bag of the Cafe Du Monde beignets, eating it as they go to the class. It's New Year's in New Orleans.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so my New Year's resolutions. I think, are you not supposed to tell people?
No, you can share them.
Okay, what I'm trying to do is, just on health-wise, I'm really trying to stick to 5 days a week, an hour of real exercise. I mean, where you're really working it on 1 hour. That's it. I don't only do 2 hours at the gym, no, 1 hour, 5 days a week. Have to do it. And that I'm sort of close to that anyway, but kind of fell off different parts. And when I was away, I really worked out. I swam in the ocean for, a while.
That's so good for you.
Oh my gosh, it feels so good to swim in the ocean. Then this woman down the beach says, "Oh, there was a shark." I said, something, I don't even want to hear about that. She's like, there was a tiger shark seen. I'm like, oh, that was not minnow. Not worrying about that. A tiger shark. She's saying that children are screaming and running out of the surf. Then they put the shark flag up and nobody goes in. That's the perfect time to go. If it's my time, it's my time. At least if I go that way, there'll be a segment on the Ingraham angle. Maybe Raymond will host the Ingraham angle that day. There'll be a segment that we get high ratings. We go out with a high rating, ratings bang.
A very dramatic end.
Yeah. By the way, Newsweek is trashing me because
I saw that.
Oh, a lot of potheads over there. They're all token up. Good for them.
It's all drunks and potheads.
Yeah, maybe Newsweek will get better if they're all smoking pot. I mean, they seem to think pot's great, so maybe they should do a test to see if people can tell the difference between their lousy journalism when they don't smoke pot and then their journalism when they do smoke pot. Let's see if anyone can tell the difference. Okay?
That I have to say, I only watched a few moments of CNN's
I didn't watch any of it. I was dancing.
It was a disgrace. They were just bombed. All of them are bombed? or strange. Hitting on each other, boozing it up. Then it's marijuana use in Denver. It was a mess.
Cannabis. They went on the cannabis. Oh no. Yeah, look, let's just call this what it is, okay? It's big weed making billions of dollars by turning our kids into potheads. And it's, kids can't drink. Kids can't drink either. And people say, well, alcohol's worse. Okay, do we need more alcoholics? No. But pot also has other effects. Psychosis, schizophrenia, a lack of productivity, changes in the minds, in the brain development of young people.
Yep.
And zero medicinal benefit. Zero. No peer-reviewed studies that show any medicinal benefit to marijuana. Period. Okay? And by the way, it's against federal law if you hadn't noticed. So I don't care if I stand alone on this issue. I do not care. The idea that this helping American society in any way is a joke. It makes it easier for potheads to be potheads and to give kids a sense that, well, it's not that good. Adults do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And more are doing it. And that's a developing brain. So I'm not for it. And I love the worst, by the way, the worst types of articles and the laziest type of journalism is when all they do is take tweets from people criticizing you. Like, welcome to my world. People criticize me all the time. Ask me if I care. And in fact, the fact that these people are criticizing me, I wear a shield of armor every day. And guess what?
Well, they're hitting you because they're potheads.
Yeah, they're potheads. They want to smoke more. And
I love you, Laura, but I love pot, and it's never hurt me at all. Of course, she can't remember her name, but...
No, but those were the two supporters, the people who watch the Ingraham angle and listen to radio. I love you, but you're wrong about this. Okay, fine. Go toke it up. Why don't you make it official? Just drink your bong water. Just drink it in the morning. Okay? Drink it. And you want to go, here's my question. I always ask this question. Do you want to go to a cardiac surgeon, a heart surgeon who smokes dope regularly, or one who doesn't? And if you had to choose, which one would you choose? End of story. I just won the argument. Okay? So every time they say this, I say, okay, let's really talk about it. Let's really talk about it. 855-40 Laura. But yeah, they're Twitter roasts Laura Ingraham. Welcome to my world. It happens every day. So good, excellent. Bring it on. Keep it coming. Then I know I'm doing the right thing. You can call in about that because California, they're all celebrating legal pot, recreational pot, and so you got sanctuary state. You know what they should have? I was thinking about this. Raymond, you can chime in. We're running late here. You know what they should have in California? They should, since they do driver's licenses for illegals and they're all in the schools and getting all these benefits, court interpreters and sanctuary status, they should get free pot vouchers. Give the illegal immigrants free vouchers for pot because, look, other people have more money to buy pot, and we really need to help the illegal immigrants feel truly welcome in California. 855-40 Laura. We're going to get into all of this, including parents whose children have been harmed by pot use. And stick that in your whatever you call it. Yeah, your bong and smoke it. We'll take a break. Don't go.
I smoked 2 joints before I smoked a joint, and then I smoked 2 more.
Someone just passed it to me because that's what you do here at the Puff Pass and Paint party. You just pass it on.
Randy's just going to pass it on.
I'm just going to pass it on to somebody.
She's just going to pass it on.
I'm just going to pass it on. And then I get another one passed to me. It's so funny. But here, everybody just puffs, passes, and paint.
I ain't drunk. I'm just drinking. Oh, man, you know I ain't high. I just take a little bit every now and then.
Can you believe we got sent to New Orleans every single New Year's Eve? This is insane.
CNN sent us to a bar in New Orleans.
And wants us to have fun.
What are we supposed to do? Talk about...
No, we're having fun.
Some of the most intelligent banter ever to air on CNN, I have to say. Wow. They're like, can you believe they send us here every year? No. Can you believe that they sent us here? They both said that same thing. They're drunk.
This is CNN.
I have to say, I found that to be some of the more compelling commentary I've heard on CNN over the last year. I think that was more insightful, Raymond Arroyo, because I know you were at the next bar, because you're in New Orleans, and you were in the next bar. Where were they? Do you know, by the way?
They were at a place called the Spotted Cat, which is a little dive bar downtown. I don't know why they decided on that one. It's probably the least glamorous little hellhole in all of the city, but CNN must have gotten free booze. I don't know.
Oh, my God. No. Well, look. They were smoking pot. One girl was smoking pot, girl, lady, woman, whatever you can call people. And the others were drinking. And
down in Key West, that weird guy was getting hit on. I mean, it was a mess. This was a study in degeneracy on CNN.
You know what I was doing? I was dancing. I had so much fun New Year's Eve. I was dancing. I was enjoying myself. It was fun. We had a blast. We had kind of a... like 15 people I invited to this party, and we couldn't have had more fun. We just had such a blast, and I didn't watch a minute of television, not one. Made it even more fun.
We had it on in the background. We had a nice house party. We had my parents over, some friends, very nice, low-key ball drop.
Did you have any drama in the household? When you had some
I am sad
relatives?
To report we had little drama this year, Laura. Maybe next year. No, everything was very peaceful. We had a really nice, peaceful Christmas and New Year's, and no one got bleary-eyed or fell in the street, so it was good.
That's pretty good. That's no fun, though.
You got to have something. There's always Mardi Gras.
By the way, about working out 5 times a week by throwing the unimportant things, family, health, dear friends, faith, country. That's most important. Unimportant things that you can't change, or anything you can't change, you have no power to change.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yesterday, let it go. Today and tomorrow. The future is here. It's coming. Don't get caught up in what you didn't do, what didn't happen. Look forward. That's what I'm doing. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Ben Domenech, the host of the Federalist Radio Hour. We're a daily show coming to you 5 days a week from Washington, D.C., where we interview our nation's top journalists, politicians, authors, chefs, economists, entertainers, and more. If you're looking for a contrarian discussion on news, politics, or culture, give us a listen and subscribe at podcastone.com, the new Podcast One app, or at Apple Podcasts.
Just kick back and let the feeling flow. Drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke.
Now, I came prepared, this year. I thought maybe I would bring a gas mask with me so I wouldn't, get that contact high. But look at what's on the other end of the gas mask. Yes, a bong. And of course, they couldn't stand to see a bong that didn't have any cannabis in it. So you actually put it in the bong, you filled it up. Yeah. And you packed it. Okay, so you're going to, now what? Now you're going to celebrate a little New Year's early or what?
With you, I've never hit my
right. Okay. I don't think this is really what a gas mask is used for.
I feel like I'm getting dumb just listening to this.
Wow. Okay.
This is CNN.
Where does James Earl Jones go to get his voiceover back? That's my question. That's New Year's Eve, CNN. So if they're not drunk, they're getting toked up. Well, in just a few moments, we're going to talk to Ronna McDaniel. I'm delighted she's with us. She's the chairwoman of the RNC, as all of these Republican never-Trumpers, which I don't want to spend any time on them because there's just literally no constituency for them. But just for comedic purposes, we'll share some little choice sound bites with you on the difficulty they're predicting for Republicans down the road. See, it's wishful thinking on their part, but we'll tell you what the triumphs would likely be for the GOP and the possible pitfalls with Ronna in just a moment. But Jody Belcher is joining us. Jody's son was adversely affected by pot use, and she was watching CNN with her grandson when the marijuana coverage started. We're delighted she called in. Jody, tell us what tell us what the truth as your family experienced it with marijuana.
Well, first of all, we had to live through watching my son become addicted to today's potent marijuana and eventually become psychotic, have a psychotic break, which was just a horrible experience for him and for us as a family. And he's been gravely harmed by it. And so it's been a very, very difficult journey for us. And as a result, I actually filmed a documentary called The Other Side of Cannabis, the negative effects of marijuana on our youth, because nobody was educating our young people. And so on New Year's Eve, we were watching with my 6-year-old grandson an early program. So, they have an early bedtime. And we thought, well, we'll watch CNN in New York. And we were absolutely shocked at what we saw. We could not believe what we were seeing. And then when it was over, that segment was over, we thought, well, okay. But then they did it again. And, we eventually had to just turn it off.
How old was your son when he started using, and how'd you find out?
Thank you. He was 14 years old, is what he's told us. We didn't know. And he thought it was harmless. He told us, everybody said it was a natural plant and no big deal, and that was the message. And, of course, that was the message we got as, parents who are in the 60s and 70s, when it really was 1 to 3% THC. And it's now, 15 to 25% THC, and in these concentrates and the edibles, up to 98% THC, which is a completely different drug.
So it's
We're
different
not even talking about marijuana.
Yeah, so it's different from the pot in the 70s or 80s, correct? Much stronger.
Completely different. Completely different product. And so when somebody's up to age 30, their brains are still developing, and they use this potent THC, it will negatively affect their brains.
I'm going to say something else. Those people who end up getting addicted to harder drugs, and again, these are stronger than they used to be, but this type of marijuana is stronger at THC levels. Most people who get addicted to other drugs, heroin, obviously all the fentanyl deaths, I mean, is there any statistics? I believe a lot of them started on pot. They always say, pot's not a gateway. It's not a gateway. It's not a gateway. Well, not for everybody. Of course it's not. But for the people who end up dead, it usually did start as a gateway, correct?
Right. And what somebody once said to me was, whatever your first drug is, that's your gateway.
Oh, I got you.
So
that's a good line.
Yeah, and so often it's alcohol, but now more often it's marijuana is that first drug. And
big
yes,
money.
It primes the brain for opiates.
Oh no, big money.
Big
money.
Yeah, and people
huge
think
money
it's
is funding
a harm
this.
reduction. Oh, big marijuana.
So before we let you go, Jody, what is your son doing now, and what So he's one of the people who had psychosis triggered because of pot use, and that's been researched. And what is it? The Journal of New England Journal of Medicine. Other journals have reported the research on this. But what is he doing now, and how is he doing?
So he has to live with this debilitating mental illness. He has psychotic episodes. He struggles with depression and anxiety disorders. It makes it very difficult to maintain relationships.
But he didn't have this before?
Jobs.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. He didn't have this before.
No, he was a very good student. He was a star athlete, a 4-year tennis champion. He could have gone to any college.
Oy.
He was a wonderful member of the family. I have 2 older daughters who are well launched. No, he came from a good, solid home, great education, spoke French, a tremendous young man. No, he completely changed, and it was the marijuana was the only thing in his system. We had him tested numerous times. It's what he always told us was in the system. And it's that potent that today's marijuana can do this kind of damage. So when CNN put that irresponsible airing on New Year's Eve when children were watching, it's just unconscionable. And what I would really like to see is for us to have equal time to educate. So all the harms they've done, we want equal time to educate our youth.
That's an excellent point, Jody Belcher, here on the Laura Ingraham Show. And these are things you're not going to hear on other shows. Because you know what I've discovered? The cool people are for marijuana legalization. They're the enlightened, cool people. The celebrities, the glitterati, the literati. Oh, they're the enlightened people. They're all for pot. Pot legalization, no big thing. Joining us now, Ronna McDaniel, and she's been the head of the RNC. She's got incredible reviews, by the way, for the work she's done at the RNC, listening to the people and actually really pushing the enactment of the Trump agenda. We had her on the Ingraham angle. It was really fun at the end of the year. And I get to say Happy New Year to my friend. Hey, Ronna, how are you?
I'm great. Happy New Year.
Oh, it's so great to have you on. Can I just get your quick thought on this celebration of pot use on television and all the networks who are pushing this big weed agenda? California celebrating, Colorado's all hide up now, and and I guess we're not cool if we're not all on board on it.
Yeah, I just applaud the mother you just had on, and my heart goes out to her experience, and thank you for coming out and being so vocal and a champion for your son and for other mothers. And this is something I've experienced with some of my family members. I firmly believe that pot is a gateway drug, that it is more potent than people believe, and it is something we should be educating on. And I have 2 young kids. It's something that we need to talk about and have an honest discussion about what it can do and the effects. And like she said, brains are developing till the age of 30. So it's not something we should be taking lightly and just dismissing out of hand.
I was roasted on Newsweek and I don't know, they don't even publish anymore an actual news magazine, do they? Oh, it's just a website now? That's fine, but they trash me because I routinely express my dissatisfaction with this permissive approach to marijuana use, and so they roasted me in an article, and I said, good, that means I'm doing something right. Awesome, fantastic. keep it coming, Ronna. Let's talk about where the RNC is as we start this new year. We see the legislation percolating already on the issue of DACA. Let's start with that. The president, I think, boxing the Democrats in on this by saying, okay, let's put up or shut up. You really want this amnesty? Then you've got to hit chain migration, stop it. On my interview, he said E-Verify. He basically said the whole RAISE Act has to be passed and the wall, and let's do it. And it looks like the Democrats are already balking.
Of course they are, and And it's common sense, and you and I get this. The reason we're in the place we are right now with DACA and with the Dreamers is because we didn't have comprehensive border security. We didn't have a wall. If we give amnesty and we don't have the wall and we don't do all the things that the president has said we need to do, we're going to end up right in the exact same place 20, 30 years from now. So we have to have enhanced border security, and we need to have the wall. The president has been firm on this. It is a non-negotiable for him. And, of course, Democrats are going to use their playbook again, which is, we're not going to work with this president on anything. We're going to play out the clock and hope that we can get gains in 2018 and make partisan wins at the expense of the American people and at the expense of our border security.
Well, and I think, again, the Republicans have to remind themselves of how they got elected, how this president managed to withstand the onslaught by the traditional media and Hollywood and even a lot of people in business community. He did that by sticking to his guns and being true to what the people wanted from the beginning, which was the rule of law enforced, safety, security, and America first. And if he does that, I think the sky's the limit for Republicans. I really do.
Well, this year, at the end of the year, you saw something that's never happened with a politician typically, which is he kept promises that he made. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem and Israel. He passed tax reform. He's focused on deregulation. He's expanded our energy footprint. He's been tough on terrorism and put ISIS on the run. I mean, taking care of our veterans. This is a president who ran on things, and he's delivering. And nobody's used to that, but he's got to continue to do that. And Republicans need to stand with him. That's what our voters want to see, and it's refreshing, and it's good for our country.
Well, and I think that, again, America is back. We even see the New York Times have to grudgingly acknowledge today, with red tape losing its grip, firms ante up. Spending is on the rise as confidence grows. All unrelated to Donald Trump, I'm sure, Ronna, all unrelated.
Yeah, it's all an anomaly, of course, as companies are saying, we're going to raise your wages to $15 an hour without a government mandate. Of course, this is all carryover. But, I mean, life is better, and that's the great thing about getting out of Washington, as I do regularly, and traveling the country. People feel good about where this country is going and the leadership that they're seeing. And you're right, companies are giving $1,000 bonuses and improving wages, and consumer confidence is high, and unemployment's low while labor participation rates are going up. We are on the right track, but we have to keep pushing forward. We can't delude ourselves that Democrats are going to come across the aisle. I just don't believe they're going to do it.
No.
Their playbook is resist, obstruct.
Yep. Resist and demonize, dismiss, resist, demonize. That's their entire agenda. I want to play for you a soundbite from this fellow Matthew Dowd. Sorry to spoil the beginning of your year, but he's on ABC. He's a never-Trumper, of course. He's on ABC on Sunday, and he talked about how Republicans have to behave and what they have to advocate in order to win in 2018.
So what do Republicans have to do to really beat back the Democrats?
I think they have to. I mean, if they won't follow this advice, but I'm going to give it to them, which is they have to take on the president in a more concerted, strong way. They have to define themselves differently than just the party of the president. They have to define themselves on certain Republican principles that they've walked away from. They won't do it because they've enabled this president all year long. But if they want to save themselves in any way in these elections, they got to take the president on.
Ronna, go ahead. You can tackle that one.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. So we have enabled the president for large tax cuts, the largest tax cuts we've seen since Reagan, for deregulation, for great judges, for a stronger military, for taking care of our veterans. I mean, time and time again, when Republicans are working together, we are seeing our country be stronger. We are seeing more jobs. We are seeing higher wages. That's what Republicans should learn from last year, is working with the president and fulfilling the promises we made on the campaign trail is a winning strategy for our country, and that will pay dividends in 2018 in November when voters go to the voting booth and they say, am I better off than I was 2 years ago, and did Republican policies help me? And the answer right now is going to be yes, and I think that will only get better if we continue to double down on the promises we made.
Ronna McDaniel, it is great to have you on the show, and have a wonderful new year. Check back with us soon. And thank you for your words of wisdom on the new glamorization of pot usage. MSNBC is basically right now running an infomercial for pot usage. It's despicable. I mean, it really is. But let's definitely make sure young people see that, because that will really discourage things like date rape on college campuses, or no other problems will result from that, with people being more impaired. That'll work out well for the country. Unbelievable. Ronna, thank you so much. You're listening to your Healthy Radio Addiction. 855-40-LAURA. As the pot business is booming, would you invest to make a buck, or do you put your values first? Don't go away.
One toke over the line, sweet Jesus. One toke over the line.
Back on the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA, big Ingraham angle tonight. We'll hit this topic and a lot more as the Hollywood celebrities create a fund to support young actresses who are being harassed. They create something called Time's Up. I think Time's Up for your box office, which is, other than Star Wars, not very impressive. This is all about political power. This is not about the young women, I can tell you that. Real quick, let's go to Elaine, North Carolina. We got about 45 seconds. Elaine.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. In October 2016, our 28-year-old son had a stroke. And when he went in, we thought he was just having a seizure because they found pot in his system when we took him to the emergency room. 10 hours later, other tests revealed that he had had a stroke that had completely paralyzed his right side. And in doing some research after that, there was a study done in the UK, I believe, to where there were a lot of people about his age having strokes, and one of the common themes throughout every one of them was that they were regular pot users.
Oh, well, again, we're going to do honest research and honest reporting on this. Peer-reviewed research. That's what I would like to see more of. Don't let big pot, bamboozle you. Just like the... the big tobacco. Well, tobacco's legalized. Okay, we have a lot of stuff legalized that's not good for you. Okay, and that we can't let kids get hooked into this. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to the Laura Ingraham Show podcast. Download new episodes every week at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
Podcast One has new shows on our new app. Check out all the cool features to help you explore our exciting new programming, like America's Lakers podcast with Jay Moore, So Random with Corinne Olympios, Attack Each Day, The Harbaugh's podcast, Not Just Sports with Susie Schuster and Rich Eisen, and Sessions with Randy Jackson, as well as your old favorites like The Lady Gang, Steve Austin, Shaquille O'Neal, and Adam Carolla. Get the new Podcast One app in the App Store, Google Play, or podcastone.com.